The only thing we have to fear is beer itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner,
and our from entertainer,
Wayne Baker.
And now, today, we are very excited to be on location somewhere close to where I live, so I don't have to drive forever away to get somewhere.
Yeah, we were still here before you.
Yeah, I know.
Let the
That's
record show.
Long story for a different day. But we are on location today in Manayunk at Manayunk Brewing Company, and we have two gentlemen with us that are very generous enough to donate their time to us. We have
Mark Graves.
And
Evan Fritz.
And you are both brewers here at Manayunk, correct?
That's right.
Head brewer and assistant brewer, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
All right.
Depending on the day.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Or what crappy job has to be done.
Well,
Right,
yeah. that leads to the question, what crappy jobs get passed off down the chain?
I think we share most of the responsibilities. We've increased our capacity quite a bit lately, so Mark is kind of a head brewer and training wheels, and he's doing all the same things. He's calling all the shots when I'm not here, so.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I like the training wheels. Way to go. That's a good way to look at it. Someday the training wheels will come off, though. Don't worry.
Well, I still got mine on,
Oh,
so.
man. Is brewing like riding a bike? Do you ever, like, if you go back to it?
You never forget.
Yeah.
No.
I've never brewed,
No.
so I have no idea.
No, I mean, I homebrewed for a long time, and I always went back to it, and don't miss a beat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. So if you can ride a bike, you can brew beer. That's where my mind goes. Don't
No.
ask questions. No, that's not true. Because 7-year-old kids can ride bikes, and they don't brew beer.
Mine do.
Yeah. With the exception. That's awesome.
Unless your dad is a brewer.
Yes.
Right.
Or
In which
mother.
case, you have no choice.
Well, yeah. Oh, man. Well, there's a lot we've got ahead of us today, and I'm very excited to get to our tastings and a lot of stuff. But let's get this show on the road. All right, so I'm back to calling this yesterday's news because by the time you hear this episode, it will be 3 weeks after we're recording it. So you probably heard what I'm about to say. Sorry, Internet.
But you haven't heard it in Dan's voice.
That's right. This is the best way you could possibly hear it. Screw you, Google. So there's a few things that I have that are noteworthy at best. Make sure you go to beerbusterspodcast.com because prior to recording this episode, there was something major, and I would call it breaking news. But again, you've probably heard it.
Breaking news.
For the record, I didn't hit the button. Wayne just says that the same way every time.
Every single time.
Stone has chosen where they're going to have their East Coast brewery, and
it's not Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
It is not Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, or
Or is it
Philadelphia, or anywhere in the Northeast, but it
it's
is
not that much further away.
It's really not. So I'm sensing a recording coming up there. Hopefully,
that
maybe
would be awesome.
Maybe Joe Man could meet us there.
or maybe Woodstock 3.0 will be available to us, so we don't have to bring it back from California this time.
Seriously.
But
Call
if
us.
you
Will Wheaton, info at beerbusterspodcast.com.
you said call us, and then you gave the email address.
Either way. Our phone numbers are not on the website.
If you haven't read the article or heard, which you should read my article because I wrote it, so read it. It's going to be in Richmond. So Richmond, Virginia, opening either late 2015 or early 2016, Stone Brewing Company, East Coast.
Exciting.
Yes. So that wasn't one of my official news stories, but I wanted to lead off with that. The next thing is kind of confusing and slightly depressing. USA Today...
That's a great way to start off a news story.
Yes.
Keep listening.
Yeah. USA Today names the best beer town. So beer lovers of America have made their voices heard, and apparently...
Is this another list? I smell a list.
It's sort of, but not really.
Okay.
Apparently,
Our listeners are starting to call you out on that, too, just so you know.
It's fine.
Which I love.
In fact, we have a list in the news story that was given
Sent
to us by a listener.
Because
coming
Dan
up.
loves lists.
I don't really love them, but when I have no other news to pull from, lists are the way to go.
Lists are fun. I like listening to lists.
All right, cool. They're a little more interactive, right?
Do you ever read them backwards?
No, but I should.
Let's try
That's a
it.
good idea. All right, we'll try today.
Just to mix things up.
Yeah. So apparently, according to people who voted in a poll for USA Today, Grand Rapids, Michigan is the best beer town in the United States, which I don't quite understand, but...
Because you've never been there.
Have you?
No.
Well then.
But Rich's cousin lives there.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, it
I've
is
never
true.
been there, so I can't say for sure,
Yeah,
but
me neither.
a lot of my friends went to the conference, the
To
Homer's
NHC?
conference, and they said it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Bells.
Well, they had...
Founders.
Yeah, that's true.
They had the voting open to people, and you could vote, I think it was like once a day or once every 12 hours. So if all of Grand Rapids, Michigan decided to say, we're going to vote for this, and they had this thing going, they could have voted, and everyone in the town could have voted every day while the rest of the country didn't know about the poll, because this is the first I'm hearing of this. I don't read
They
USA
do it
Today
every
day.
year.
Well, hey, there we go. Why didn't you vote then?
Because
Yeah.
I'd rather read the list.
You know,
and
if you
vote
don't
for it.
vote, Steph, you can't complain.
I'm not complaining about the
Vote or
winner.
die,
Good for
motherfucker.
them.
Vote or die.
I
Sorry,
say
I was playing South Park earlier.
I say good for Grand Rapids.
Yes.
Good for them. I think Asheville usually wins it. What are they, like, second or third?
Third. So here we go into a sort of
Number
list.
2.
That was number 2 was Tampa. Number 4 was Bend, Oregon. Number 5 was Fort Collins, Colorado. Number 6 was San Diego. Throwback to Stone.
Right.
Then you had Portland, Maine, Portland, Oregon at 7 and 8. Denver was 9, and Burlington, Vermont was 10.
I imagine the citizens of Portland, Oregon are pretty upset that they got beat out by the citizens of Portland, Maine.
Yeah, well, they should have voted.
Allagash,
Oh, sad hipsters.
Maine Beer Company.
Yes.
It's all good. All of those cities have legit breweries, and they all make awesome beer, so whatever.
Yeah, so that's what
I
matters.
do think Philly should get some love, because we have some awesome breweries in Philly, too.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
Including the one that we're at.
The one we're sitting in right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, see? This is a kind of flashy story. Has to do with the macros. Anheuser-Busch InBev is releasing
Oh, the Mac, I get it now.
macros, like big breweries.
Right, I get it.
Yeah.
I was like, what are the Mac?
So
I thought it was a sports team.
Right. Wow.
Sports.
There it is. So in bars and restaurants around the country this fall, touchdowns and home runs will be celebrated in a new and unique way with Bud Light and Budweiser beer tap handles and neon lights that flash and display dynamic messages every time the home team hits pay dirt in the end zone or crosses home plate. The unique form of revelry is the result of collaboration between Anheuser-Busch, Sprint, and Mesh Systems. As the leading sponsor in football and baseball, Anheuser-Busch is always looking for ways to enhance our fans' experience, says Lucas, a name I can't pronounce, Vice President of Anheuser-Busch Consumer Connections. It's Hersovici? Sure. When you're out with friends, it's exciting when all these tap handle lights start flashing when your team scores. It's as if the bar or restaurant itself is celebrating with you, which in most cases, if you're at a bar watching a sports game, the whole bar is celebrating with
Imagine
you.
the lights would just be distracting.
Yes. Anheuser-Busch brought the idea for these interactive tap handles to Sprint, asking its longtime business collaborator to develop a distinct technology that would make Anheuser-Busch an inherent part of watching televised sporting events at bars and restaurants.
really, every other commercial is a commercial for them.
It's like they said, they're the main
They're
sponsor
already a
of-
part of
Yeah.
sporting events.
It's
Pretty
like
much.
it's like an idea that's almost kind of clever, but it's really kind of gimmicky, and I imagine would get really obnoxious.
That's where my mind was at, too. It'll be cool for the first touchdown, second touchdown, but it gets old.
Yeah.
I don't want my tap handle to light up. I want it to pour good beer, which in this case it's not going to. So, yeah, look for those in big bars coming soon. And then a list. We've got the list.
Oh, is this the list that our listeners sent us?
This is the list that was sent to us by listener Nicholas. I have it written here somewhere. Nicholas Schoenfelder.
Okay.
So thank you, Nicholas Schoenfelder, for sharing this
I
list
think it
with
might
us.
actually be Shane.
Schoenfelder?
Yeah, usually that SCHOE is pronounced Shay.
You know, we're good at pronouncing names wrong. I've learned that.
Or pronouncing them incorrectly.
Good at pronouncing them wrong. Good at pronouncing them incorrect. All right.
Correct.
Grammar lesson.
List.
So the list is the best beers in the country ranked by state. Well, I guess the best beer in every state, and then a composite list of the country, so all the states. And D.C., so there's 51 numbers.
I like my list simple. This is too complicated.
I know, it is. All right, so instead of going through 51 items, just throw out some states. Idaho. Black Cauldron Imperial Stout by Grand Teton Brewing Company.
New Mexico.
New Mexico is, Wayne, you get the next one. New Mexico is Elevated IPA from La Cumbre Brewing Company.
Best IPA.
That was a new brew review.
Hey, there we go.
Mississippi.
Mississippi's MI, right?
Is it MI?
It's MS, isn't it?
I think it's MS. MI is Michigan.
Michigan is MI. MS.
Wait, but then what's Missouri?
MO.
MO. So
MO.
MS is Mississippi.
We have connections to Missouri that we'll get to.
In a moment.
Missouri.
See?
Missouri.
What?
Missouri.
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 So we're going Mississippi, right?
Mississippi.
Timber Beast, Lazy Magnolia Brewing Company.
Never heard of it.
Alaska.
Alaska.
good call.
Berserker by Midnight Sun Brewing Company.
My love for you is like a berserker.
There we go.
If you would like making flip berserker.
How about Connecticut?
Connecticut is Imperial Stout Trooper by New England Brewing Company.
Massachusetts.
We have Sam Adams Utopias.
I really want to know the whole list now. Like, this is...
Yeah.
I'm running out of states.
Washington,
Wait,
D.C.
Pennsylvania.
So-
Isn't it Selinsgrove, I think?
It was Selinsgrove. So Pennsylvania was the Phoenix Creek by Selinsgrove Brewing Company.
Good for them.
Washington, D.C. was, I'm proud of this, a beer I've had on the Wings of Armageddon from D.C.
Oh,
Brown.
nice.
And who gave you that beer?
Of course.
That was a good beer.
Well, since Mark and I are
delicious
both from Joyzy,
Joyzy. Joyzy is Head High from Kane Brewing Company.
Oh,
Good choice.
Mike LaRosa,
that's right.
former brewer of Manayunk.
There we go. Now, this one I thought was interesting. California. Any guesses? There's so many to choose from.
Yeah.
Pliny the Older.
Close. Pliny the Younger.
Oh, the younger.
Yes. Very close.
The younger Pliny.
Overrated.
Ooh.
Oh, it's good.
Respect your elders.
Throw down.
I have had them side by side, and I do prefer Elder.
I put all my money on the pig.
Oh, blind pig,
Yeah.
delicious. And it's much easier to get your hands on.
Any other states we want to hear from?
Texas.
Texas. Atrial Rubicite from Jester King Brewing.
Okay.
Indiana.
Indiana, let me scroll up. Indiana was Dark Lord Russian Imperial Stout from Three Floyds.
Of course. Wisconsin.
New
Glarus.
Glarus. Wisconsin Belgian Red, New Glarus.
Wyoming.
Wyoming for the three people that live there, Zonker Stout from Snake River Brewing Company.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Did we say Florida yet?
We can go to
I have a case in
Florida.
my fridge.
Florida
Cigar
is
City.
Cigar City
City.
Final Push.
Oh.
How about Minnesota?
Minnesota, MN, correct?
Yes.
I should know this. Darkness from Surly Brewing Company.
Yeah.
Too many M's, man.
Too many states.
New York.
New York is Imperial Russian Stout from Southampton Public House.
All right. I think that's enough of that.
All right, so the whole
We'll
list will
post
be
the
linked to beerbusterspodcast.com. Let's write that down.
Yes, remember to tell me that, or it won't be.
And I think Wayne has a new story.
Wayne has a new
I
story.
do. I have a quick little blurb.
Wayne, go ahead.
Breaking news.
I was just going to hit the button.
In stereo from our friends at Naked Brewery.
Yes.
Naked Brewing, excuse me. We were there recently. They have recently gotten a distribution deal with Bella Vista Distributors,
Yay.
who also distributes Neshaminy Creek, who they're good buddies with. So they say they're happy to be in the same house as their Neshaminy Creek brethren. So you will be seeing much more nakedness in the area soon. So congratulations to Naked Brewing Company. Nice to see them expanding and growing and continuing to be awesome.
Awesome. I just had an idea. They should sponsor the Philly Naked Bike Ride.
Good tie.
Cool. Anyway, so that we have covered the news, like I said earlier, we are on location in Manayunk at Manayunk Brewing Company. And like I said earlier, we've got two guys that are here and with us for the duration and pouring up some really good beer. And I'm very excited to be here, guys. We can't thank you enough for having us out here.
Well, thanks for having us.
Well, I know, so both of you guys are, I know you said you're both from Jersey, but you have kind of different backgrounds, which I saw. We had little bios that we pulled up. So two things that stuck out to me were, and I kind of made reference to it earlier, Missouri and then California. What part of the respective states? What part of Missouri and what part of California were you guys in?
Missouri, I was in Springfield most of the time, going to school out there.
Okay. What did you study?
I studied hospitality, so hotel, restaurant,
Very,
tourism.
very cool. And then what took you out to California?
I was just like a lost soul and wanted to move away, and so I picked the furthest place I could go, and I lived in a little town called Monrovia. It's L.A.
Okay.
And just moved out there, packed up all my shit, flew out there. I had one buddy who lived in the area, and we just hung out and smoked a lot of weed and laid
what
by
you
the
do
pool.
in California.
Yeah, that's what you do. Laid by the pool all day, and
I assume you had your prescription for it?
yeah, of course.
All right, good.
So what-
nice
On
and
the up
legal.
and up.
What got you both into brewing then? If you came from hospitality and you came from smoking weed in California.
I've always been into beer. I mean, in high school, you know, I started drinking beer really young, but while everybody was drinking the pale yellow macro beers and stuff, we were drinking Guinness and Sam Adams and stuff and Pete's Wicked, and everyone's going, "Ew, how can you drink all that?" And we just loved it. You know, from the beginning, all my friends, you know, we'd get my buddy's mom. She'd go to the store and they'd look at her weird, like, "Do you know what you're getting?" And yeah, it's been that way ever since.
Now you just got the title of head brewer then, Evan, pretty recently, right? About a year ago?
Yeah, not even. Yeah. Right around Christmas time, the head brewer at the time, Doug, came to me and said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm going back to Iron Hill," which is where he started. And so it was kind of like, wow, what's going to happen? And immediately the owner said, "Hey, go find another brewer to replace him." And I said, "Okay, well, I'll do it." And they're like, "No, go find another brewer."
No, seriously.
Yeah, and I'm like, I kept, waving my hands in front of their face, like, "Hey, I'll do it." And they're like, "No." And so, we did a lot of interviews, we hired some people, and eventually just they decided I was the best person for the job.
Very cool.
You had to work for it, man.
I did. I did.
How long had you been with Manayunk before that?
I'd say probably about 3 years. They brought me on as I did all the sales and all the cellarman responsibilities. So I would clean the dirty kegs, fill the kegs, load up the kegs for all of our wholesalers, make sure they went to the right place, go out on the street, 3, 4, 5 days a week, sell the kegs. I got us into packaging and canning and stuff like that. And we had just one wholesaler at the time, went up to 9 after everything started going real well. So we really increased quite a bit. And so I learned the brand, I knew the company, and I was a big influence on the brewers that were there before. So it was a natural step for me, and I fell right into it and was comfortable from the beginning.
Very cool. And now, Mark, how long have you been with Manayunk?
Manayunk, I think we're coming up to about a year and a half now.
Very cool. And did you start as the assistant brewer, or did you start, I think I saw you started elsewhere at the brewery, right?
Yeah, I just started as a cellarman, base level, cleaning kegs. And then from there, just got more and more responsibilities, really hand in hand with Evan as the salesperson, just kind of making sure all the orders went out on time, had everything going. And from there, the brewers just started teaching me more and more, and position opened up eventually, so...
And then, and what got you into brewing in general in the first place?
Brewing, it was really when I was out in Missouri in school. I was part of the house that I lived in. Was one of my roommates was the starting goalie for our college hockey team. So we had a lot of parties over there. They would have kegs of Ice House and name any nasty beer you could think of.
Yeah.
And I was the one going to the one bar we had in town that had like 40 taps and just trying everything. From there, once I got home from school, it was just, started brewing and got hooked. Joined a homebrew club, which Evan was president of at the time. And when I got here...
Don't sell me short. I'm still president for a couple more months.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And which homebrew club is that?
It's Barley Legal Homebrewers.
I love that
Awesome.
name. I love that name.
Yeah.
You guys had an awesome setup at NHC in Philly. I remember
thanks.
that. That was
Yeah,
one of
we
the
worked
best
really hard on
stands
that.
for club night.
And we brought the most kegs, so we won the Golden Urinal.
Yes, you did. And you
Golden
helped.
Urinal?
The Golden Urinal, yeah, it's for the club that brings the most kegs to the conference.
That's
I think
awesome.
we topped out at, 130-ish?
We did every style, including ciders.
Right.
Wow.
Ciders,
Every style.
meads, sours, you name it.
So you mentioned, Evan, that you sort of kick-started the whole packaging movement here at Manayunk. Do you want to talk a little bit about canning and the beers you're currently canning and what you're looking to can in the future?
Yeah, sure. So, I was contacted, in my sales travels about, hey, do you guys want to sell this beer in cans? And the owner of the brewery, she lives up in Toronto, but she's really keen on green things. And, we're doing working with Villanova students right now to minimize our footprint of the brewery in all aspects. So it'll be a semester, every semester we'll work with a different group of students. And so she was a really big supporter of the cans from the get-go. And met a company, I can't remember the name of it, who did a mobile canning service, and they would come to the brewery, bring the cans, fill the cans for us, and when they leave, we had pallets of beer, and it was like, wow, this is really, really amazing. And we worked with them for a couple rounds, and then we found another company who was a lot more sophisticated, could do a lot more volume and a lot less time, a lot less money. And so now we have a partner who comes to the brewery about 3 times a month, hooks right into our tanks, brings the cans with them still, and when they leave, instead of having 1 pallet of cans, now we have about 15. So it's really going well, and we're selling a lot more beer this way. We're reaching a lot further, and couldn't be happier. It's really
cool.
Cans to me are just far superior to bottles. I think most beer enthusiasts agree. It's better for the environment. It's more recyclable. It's better for the beer. Lets in less light, less oxygen. You can take them places where bottles can't go. You can't break them. So really was a no-brainer. And I mean, that's how we got into it. And we're not looking to change anything soon. We're actually looking to add some new styles, actually.
Very cool.
Cool. Now, I know before we started recording, you took us around the brewery a little bit. You mentioned that you had 2 fermenters installed pretty much just for the purpose of canning. So.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, they're 60-barrel fermenters. We got them from an outfit out in Canada called Specific Mechanical. So each one of those produces about 800 cases per run, and they're outdoor fermenters, which is really cool. So we've got a real nice deck out back, and everybody can look at the fermenters, the shiny stainless, and see them, and ask questions and things like that. And fortunately, we have a cage around it, so people can't get in there and help themselves to samples. I insisted on that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, adding the new fermenters was not the only renovations that were done here recently.
No, I mean, we tore the whole entire brewery apart. Riggers came in, moved out the old brew house. We got a brand new brew house from Specific as well. New hot liquor tank, new bright tanks, new packaging tanks, new fermenters. And so even all the existing equipment that we had that we still have all had to be moved out of the building by riggers, uprighted, laid down every which way. We cut holes in the side of the building because the door wasn't big enough to fit the equipment in. And then when the equipment arrived, it still wasn't big enough, so we were knocking out bricks with hammers and chisels just to get the equipment into the room.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah, there was, when we were down there was a doorway, and I pointed it out to Steph, that was like 3 feet or less wide.
That was
tough. So narrow. Like, how? Like, that's just got to be such a pain.
It is.
It's not a building that was built for a brewery. And
No. That was one of the things I really pushed for with the renovation, was to open that up more.
Yeah.
But the problem is the building is very old, and there's some walls that are, almost horizontal, and they're not supposed to be. So just ripping out bricks is not a good practice. Like, you don't want to just leave them alone.
You hit the wrong one and everything.
Jenga.
Jenga, yes, very much so.
Well, and you guys had a major flood here back in April as well.
A major flood, lots of major floods.
Yeah.
Wow.
The most recent one was at the end of April, a couple days after our annual beer fest that we hold here. And, it was devastating. We came in a couple days after the water had receded back into the river, and tanks were on their sides. One of our brand new tanks was lifted up and was laying on top of our boiler horizontally, and it was I just wanted to cry. I couldn't sleep at night for weeks just thinking about, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? How are we going to get back to where we were? Because we had finally just got everything working. All the new equipment was running, and we were brewing, and all the tanks were full, and everybody's high-fiving, and next thing you know, it's like a real kick to the balls, and there's nothing you can do about it except grab a mop and start cleaning the shit up.
It's real interesting to wake up in the morning and see your place of business underwater on the news.
Yeah.
And,
wow, yeah.
Right, and we both live in Jersey, so it's like we want to come over and help, but you can't get close.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a boat. I'm not gonna.
What are you going to do?
There's no way to get down there.
How long was it from the time that the flood, occurred till it receded that you could come in?
We were
12
I think it was
15
like
hours?
maybe it was like happened on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we didn't come in, and then the weekend I think maybe we came in on a Saturday briefly, and then back on Monday we were back.
Yeah.
Wow. Because that's just got to suck to be sitting there and just
Nothing you can
knowing,
do.
like I want to put on scuba gear and dive in there and save what I can, like just sitting there helplessly watching.
Well, and unfortunately for both of us, it was our first time where all of the servers and the bartenders and the owners and the managers, they've been through this, I don't know, half a dozen times or more. And so they know what they're doing. And we just, we really leaned on them hard to say, like, how do you get through this? Help us. We need to get through this. And they were really good and supportive about everything. They knew that we were going to get back, and we didn't have that vision of what is it going to be like when we're back.
That it's going to be okay.
Yeah, there was a point we definitely looked at each other and were like, where do we start? Like,
Right.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. And I guess that's, and the location's awesome. Like out back, it's beautiful. The river there and the bar.
And everybody says, why don't you just move? Why do you keep doing this?
It's
and
a great
look at
spot.
it.
Yeah,
that's
it's an
why.
awesome
That's why.
spot. Yeah.
And we know it's going to flood again. And,
Yeah.
I'm not shy about saying that. It's going to happen again. But now at least I have a plan. And,
Been through it, yeah.
The worst thing about this last one was there was no time to adjust. Usually it's a storm coming up from the south or out from the ocean or something, and you know about it days in advance, and you can move everything up. We fortunately have rooms upstairs where we can move all the furniture and the equipment and things like that, and time to fill up all the tanks with water so they don't float away and lift up. And this was just like, hey, it's going to be a rainstorm. Then next thing you know, it's going to be a big one. And then next thing you know, it's going to flood. Yeah. And we were like running just to save our lives to get out of the building. Wow. We didn't have any time to do anything. So came back and kegs were everywhere, buckets, and everything you can imagine. There was fish all over the place. Our main bar lifted up and moved about 5 feet from where it was. Wow. And, chairs and places and urinals and, like just stuff you would never believe unless you saw it.
And we have water lines downstairs to kind of show like where each one was, like Katrina and all those.
Yeah.
And people ask us, it's like, well, what was that one? It's like it was above Katrina or one of those, and it was just like, oh, it didn't really have a name. It just rained for 3 days straight.
Yeah, it was just a big freaking flood. Wow, that's crazy. But you did bounce back.
Yes,
we bounced
let's talk
back.
about
Yes,
something
there is a
else.
positive side to
Let's
this.
move on from that depressing segment.
So when I was doing some research on your website before we came out here, I saw that you did a very interesting collaboration recently with a tequila maker in Mexico.
Yeah. There's a guy named David, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but we just call him David. And
That works.
he owns tequilas down in Philadelphia, and he just called me one day and he was like, "Hey, I want you to make a beer and age it in tequila barrels. I think it'd be really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, definitely." And so we met with him, and we got the guys over at Barry's Homebrew down in Philly involved, and we just started talking. And so it turns out he owns a distillery in Mexico, Azul Tequila, and he said, I'm going to ship up a container with all these barrels. He said these are real, they're thousands of dollars for each barrel. And he says, I'm going to trust them to you guys. I want you to make a beer and put them in them. And, one thing happened after another, and we got a Saison that was just unbelievable. It had a lot of dry tequila characteristics, and, we aged it for, I think, about 4 or 5 months. And just it tasted so good at that time. We said, okay, we don't need to age it anymore. And, it was one of the proudest moments we've had. Doug was still brewing here with me, and we just kind of collaborated on that together, and it was amazing. And we still are close with him today. We've done other beers in those barrels since then. We actually purchased them after the thing, so really, really good relationship.
I've never had a beer aged in a tequila barrel.
Well, that's what was so cool
I've
about
heard
it.
of it before. It's like once in a while some people have done it, and I don't like tequila, but I would like to try that. I don't like tequila. No.
Well, here's my little brag that I'm going to do.
Okay.
So the beer was ready just in time for Philly Beer Week last year, and I got a call from Tom Peters, who owns Monk's, and he says, I want this beer for an event I'm doing at Beer Week. And I was just like, we were floored. Like, this is like, the king of craft beer in Philadelphia calling us directly and saying, I want this beer. I've never had a beer in tequila. And so we were just really happy for that. And he loved it. He bought a second one. And, it's just a really cool feeling. Like, it was one of the best beers that we feel like we've made here.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
one day I'll try one.
Yeah. Monk's makes all sorts of top lists of bars in the country for this kind of stuff. That's that's awesome.
That is pretty awesome. And Philly Beer Week is huge, and that's one of the biggest places.
Yeah. Well, isn't Philly Beer Week the nation's oldest beer week? Or is it just the longest one? Or
it's the nation's somethingest.
I'll just go with best.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Yeah.
Most awesomest. It is awesome.
Resort to the list.
There's always a list.
Always a list. Oh, man. Well, again, guys, we can't thank you enough for having us out here. And I'm super excited to be back here. I was here about a month ago for a wedding, drinking all the beer that I could. That was a sloppy night. Plenty of pictures.
For those of you keeping score at home, that's like 33 weddings that Dan has been to in the last year or two.
4 in the past year. I was in 2 of them, not this one, but that meant I got to have less responsibility and more beer.
That's right.
Yeah, and sushi. You guys have sushi here, which
do.
was really good.
I hear it's phenomenal. I haven't had it myself, but people are always telling me.
It was really good. But I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to have the beers that you guys have.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
All right, so we've got a beer in front of us. So, Pickles, what are we drinking?
Pickles. Oh, you bastard.
I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, of course.
They picked up on it earlier when I just said it nonchalantly.
Right.
Anyway, so we are in front of us. We have a nice red-colored ale. It's Schuylkill Punch, a favorite of Manayunk Brewing Company.
Punch.
Punch.
There you go.
Punch.
Thank you, Wayne.
All right, so
I can't do it.
I really like this beer. Some people are like, oh, fruit beer. You normally think like the artificially flavored. beers are just I've had raspberry ales; they're not very good. But we really pride ourselves on using real fruit with this. The latest iteration, we use different berries. We have raspberries, tart cherries, and blackberries in there, so it's more of a punch to it. We initially had it was just a raspberry ale, but then the price of raspberries actually tripled this year.
Wow.
And of course, the owners were looking, okay, are we going to do artificial flavoring and this and that? And we're like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, there's no
like
substitute
people
for the real thing.
love it because it actually is real fruit. So we looked at some different things. We still wanted that nice, like red, little bit of a pink hue to it. So picked a couple different fruits, tried them in a small test batch. And by test batch, I mean a small glass. And went from there. We're really pleased the way it came out. The cherries are really prominent in it, and yeah.
It almost feels like a framboise to me, which is why I love it. Like,
Yeah.
I would love this with dessert next to a big piece of like dark chocolate cake or something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's
want
really,
chocolate.
really
It's really
tasty.
good. And it's an awesome color too. It's like a really
The color,
Rich
the aroma,
red,
the
yeah.
flavor, through the whole experience, you just get berries. And I love the addition of the tart cherries. It adds that extra element there.
There's a tiny bit of puckeriness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been a few people that have just been like, is this a sour beer? Or like, no, it's just the cherries. But
You could
Good luck.
mistake
It
it
could be
for
the
a
gateway.
mild sour. but
Yeah.
it's not
It would be the
intense,
gateway
but,
into it.
Yeah.
Because I normally don't like sours, but I was here a couple of years ago for my birthday, and I had this as part of a flight, I think it was, and I really liked it. And then the next sour I had was not so great. But this I could see being a good gateway into that. Like if I would have had more and more of this, sours would have been the next kind of step in the evolution.
Start tart and work your way to sour.
Start tart.
Start
Yeah, I
tart.
mean, a lot of people, since we brewed this new version of punch, have said, oh, it is a little sour, it's a little bit tart. The cherries come through, and that was what we were going for, mainly out of necessity because prices were getting out of control, but also just because the punch that we had before, it's an original recipe from when we opened. It's been with the brewery for 17 years, different versions of it with each brewer that they've had. Actually, last year we did an entire version of it with all Brett, no Saccharomyces yeast, so we called it Schuylkill Funk.
Nice.
And it was
Nice.
fantastic. It was that was a beer that I could really get into, and but it's always just been that redheaded stepchild beer that you have to brew. None of the brewers have ever really liked it. And now I can say, I was just saying before how much I don't like it, but every time I take a sip of it, I do like it again. I fall back in love with it, and it's not the style that I would choose to drink, but it's something that I can be proud of now.
Yeah, and I think with fruit beers, I think they do have sometimes a bit of a bad reputation, like you said. But fruit beers made with real fruit and made well. I mean, we've had a few lately on the show and in our various adventures, and they're really awesome when they're made well and they're made with real fresh fruit. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
and it's got a bit of a reputation. Like everywhere I go, it seems like it's the beer that guys love to hate or
Yeah.
hate to love.
Hate to love.
Hate to
Yeah.
love, sorry.
Guilty pleasure.
And we'll be at Beer Fest and just like, yo, man, Schuylkill Punch, oh, man. And you see all the ladies drinking it, but then you all see the guys drinking it because it's good.
I've heard several brewers say that they typically brew a fruit beer for the ladies, but the guys end up drinking it more than the
Yeah,
ladies do
yeah.
anyway.
If it's good, I think,
What was the
anyone
one?
can have it.
What was the one at Naked? Was that the
pomegranate
pomegranate?
one.
Yep,
Yeah.
that one was.
That was one of the ones that they
Yep.
Remember
mentioned.
and the guys are coming in, I want the pomegranate, and the lady's like, I want the double IPA.
We experimented with pomegranate. We tried a lot of different fruits actually for substitutes, and who knows? Maybe the raspberries will go back down in price. There was some kind of shortage or something, so this could change again next time. We don't know. I do know that we'll keep brewing it because the owner loves it, and the whole idea, the name is great. I mean, it's one of the best names for a beer I think that you can have. So we'll keep making it, and hopefully we'll do another Brett version of it soon.
You'll keep
That
making it.
would
We'll
be
keep
amazing.
drinking it.
Right
and
on.
put some of the Brett one in a tequila barrel.
That sounds good.
That would be
That
phenomenal.
sounds good.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah,
to try
me
that.
Yeah, me too. If you ever do that, let us know. I'll be back here right away.
Yeah. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say too.
Oh, yeah.
We purposely chose not to filter it too. A lot of people would look at it and
Right.
it's not bright. You don't see right through it. That was by design. We didn't want to strip any of the fruit flavors or aromas out of the beer. I'm actually kind of becoming an advocate for not filtering lately. I just think that you're stripping out a lot of flavor and a lot of aroma out of beer when you're filtering. I know that some breweries you have to, and now that we're canning more, I see the need to in some ways. But if you brew the beer a certain way, you shouldn't have to filter. And I look at the other brewers at Manayunk before me, and they all filtered, and their beers were bright. And I can achieve the same brightness in the beer without filtering at all, just by brewing it right, conditioning it right, and just letting it sit for a little bit longer.
It's pretty though. I didn't even take notice to the clarity. I was more drawn to the color.
The color, it wasn't until you said that and I held it up to the light and I'm like, oh, yeah.
I don't want to be the guy that says it after somebody else said it, but I actually kind of did notice that, and I meant to say something about it, but I was too focused on drinking.
Dan was talking about it before it was cool.
Yo, not cool, man. Not cool. The pen's down. You know it's serious.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and you know what's hilarious, since you guys are out from the Reading area, when we started distributing out that way, listening to people try to pronounce Schuylkill.
Oh, God.
Oh,
but even
yeah.
in Reading, how
Wait,
are they...
the Schuylkill River flows right by Reading.
I know, but
You
they can't do it. Anywhere you go, they're just like, what? And the words that they come up with that look nothing and sound nothing like the word, and it's just great. I mean, there's Schuylkill County, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's north.
It borders
It
Berks,
borders Berks
doesn't it?
County on the
It's
north.
north
Yeah.
of Berks, yeah. There's no excuse for
That's
living
up
in
more
eastern
towards the
Pennsylvania
Poconos.
and not knowing how to pronounce Schuylkill.
Then again, that's where you
No
start getting into
excuse.
Pennsyltucky, and
No
that's
excuse.
just a different
No
story.
excuse.
Pennsyltucky.
No excuse.
I could imagine, like, it living in Reading, you probably heard Schuylkill, but then seeing it written out because it's
That's
spelled
true.
so
Maybe
weird.
they know how
It
to
is
pronounce
weird.
it, but they don't know how
and
it's
they don't
spelled.
recognize the word. Like, I mean, that's still kind of sad. But
I still have trouble spelling it, and I work.
Yeah.
SCHUYLKILL.
she's a teacher.
Years ago, I saw Stephen Colbert live at UPenn. It was his very first live broadcast away from his studio in New York. And the end of the show, the word Schuylkill appeared on the monitors for the audience to see, so they knew what he was talking about. It was like, and by the end of the week, I'll learn how to pronounce this. Schuylkill? Schuylkill?
There was a Philly weather reporter
Sad
that
story.
pronounced Moton Monton.
Monton. Yeah.
I don't know.
I worked. I used to work delivering furniture and appliances, and you drive around a box truck. And I was driving with this Spanish driver. I think he was Puerto Rican, and we were trying to go to Lidditz, and it was back when they had the chirp phones, where the brr, brr, and he was trying to get directions, and the dispatch guy's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "La Tits." I was like, dude, it's Lidditz. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Lidditz." Oh,
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh boy, yeah, we had that same thing with Mr. Michael LaRosa and us. What was it, like a beer or something? Yeah, it was a beer on tap at a local bar, and it was just like, what is this town? Les Tits? We're like, and then the rest of the night we're just going, Les Tits!
Oh, it still goes on to this day.
Oh my god, yeah.
When Mike calls me, that's the first thing he says is "lay teats."
We'll have to bust his balls about that one.
Yeah,
Really?
and he's from out that way too, so he knew it. And
All right, so now we have
Yunkin Pumpkin.
Yunkin Pumpkin.
So it's 5.5%. It's made with over 100 pounds of real pumpkins. It's got clove, nutmeg, allspice, and cinnamon in varying amounts. And it's actually, again, it's not filtered, but it is a lot brighter than the Schuylkill Punch and very effervescent.
Good word.
very effervescent.
But, the thing about this beer is I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin beers. I don't dislike them. I don't like them. I used to, go around and collect them all and drink them like everybody did when they came out. And now they're just so in your face. And although there's a huge market for them and we sell a ton of it, I mean, this, we're selling roughly, so we can have an extra beer at the restaurant here. We do the cans of this, plus we have the 8 drafts and whatever else we can. So we're going through like 30, 40 cases a weekend of this pumpkin beer.
It's huge. And you know what? It's not just beer. Like pumpkin, spice, everything.
Yeah.
There was
coffee and donuts.
Lattes.
And
I saw George Takei on Facebook. It was now this was not true. Somebody had made it up, but it was pumpkin spice tampons.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty funny.
But
it
not
is
surprising.
Yeah. And it's funny, and it's all over from beer to coffee to whatever. It's
Well, so my thinking was, this isn't my recipe. This is one that I don't know if it was from Doug, who was before me, or someone else that he, kind of took their recipe and modified it, whatever. I thought it was perfect. It was just the right kind of pumpkin beer that I would drink. It's not too spicy. It's not too phenolic. It's got, the right amount of pumpkin, the right amount of spice, the right amount of alcohol content, and so I didn't change a thing. And we sold tons of it, so I didn't want to change anything anyway. But most of the beers that I took over, inherited when I became the head brewer was, first thing I did was kind of modify it to make it my own. I think every brewer kind of relates to that, but this one I just did exactly the way they did it.
And I think the strength in this beer is the subtlety of the pumpkin. It's not in your face. And it's just there. It's just nice.
I love the carbonation.
The
I really
mouthfeel
appreciate
is
that.
really-
the mouthfeel I'm
is
loving.
really nice, yeah.
It is clean. It finishes dry. It's not sweet, which I hate pumpkin beers that are overly sweet.
Yeah, same here.
I will not mention any of them, but
Fruity Pebbles.
Would you make a list of them?
One that tastes like a a graham cracker, or no, ginger snap, maybe? Is that what you're referencing?
I'm thinking of one that tastes like Fruity Pebbles. Fruity
Oh,
Pebbles.
boy.
There it is.
But no, this is completely drinkable, and this is a pumpkin beer that you could have with dinner too.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you
you
have a
could.
pumpkin beer, you order it when you come to a pub, and then it ruins your meal because it doesn't pair with much of anything unless you're getting
But yeah, because
butternut squash ravioli or something, But,
right, but because the pumpkin flavoring is so subtle and it blends so well with the spices, and like you said, there's allspice in there too. That you can work it in with so many different things.
And what I like about it is that a lot of pumpkin beers that I've had that are more on the subtle and not super in your face pumpkin are also kind of thin. And this isn't thin. It's got that nice mouthfeel. It kind of stands.
It's got
up.
a good body to it.
It does, but it's not. But the flavor isn't hugely overwhelming either.
Right.
So it's a nice balance.
I'd be curious.
I love that it's in a can too.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
the thing. I'd be curious to taste it from draft versus can.
or drink it right from the can.
I'm not gonna. Anybody care if I do?
Go for it.
All right, I'm
Can
gonna do it.
from
All right,
the
so
can.
Pound it.
Oh Lord.
If you want to try it on draft, just pour the glass back into the can.
yeah. No, it's okay. I like cans.
Yeah, we don't. We were wondering, and we're talking about should we put it on draft and also sell the cans, and it was well, then people might get confused or whatever. And the whole idea of serving the cans here at the restaurant was that we could offer an additional brand, and sometimes more than one, maybe 2 or 3 different brands plus what we have on draft. So it's exciting that we're going to do that, and
Plus, I think it also gives you the opportunity to introduce to the customers that hey, we have canned beers.
exactly that's
Wait,
the other thing. It's
Manayunk
just self promotion,
cans?
right?
Yeah.
And then right, of course, by the door when you walk out, they're for sale to take with you. So
Oh, convenient.
it's a
Are
whole
they-
little
are they
trick that we do.
4 packs or 6 packs?
We do all 4 packs.
Nice. That's
Um,
cool.
I
Yeah,
like
I mean-
that, so you don't have to commit too much. I don't know if I want it, but 4, yeah, okay. 6 pack, that's a bit of a
I wish
commitment.
that's why we thought of it, but you know what? The space that we brew in is not set up to be a brewery. It never was. It was just everything was kind of custom fit into there, what we had to work with, and so as a result, it's very expensive. It's very labor intensive to do what we do. The raw materials don't come in easily, and the beer doesn't go out easily, so it's very expensive, and we're on the higher end in the price points for a lot of local breweries and regional breweries. But one way that we thought of is hey, well, let's just make it a 4-pack, and then it'll be the same price as everybody else's 6-packs.
There you go.
And it's not that we were trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It was just, hey, we want people to try it, so we got to make it at a price point where they'll pick it up and try it off the shelf. So it really has worked out well, and we sell a ton of it.
You could sell it at the Flyers games because it's orange.
You could. You could.
Well,
Sell
actually,
any
we just
pumpkin beer at a Flyers game because most of them involve orange in some way.
our new salesman just sold it into the link, so you can get
Oh, there you go.
Manayunk Pumpkin and IPA at the link during
That's
the Eagles
cool.
games. Yeah,
Nice. That would be a great football beer.
Yeah.
Sitting
it would.
outside, freezing your ass off.
Yeah.
Let the Yunk and pumpkin warm you up.
That's right. Sport.
I do have an amazing pumpkin story with this beer too. So we were getting ready to can it, and we're having trouble with the carbonation. So we got all new carbonation stones, and no one told us that we have ceramic stones for our larger tanks, that they're different and they use a different pressure to carbonate than regular stainless stones. So I'll give you the shortened version. So we have 60 barrels of pumpkin in the tank. It's cold, it's not carbonated, and we can't get it carbonated. We tried for days and days. They wouldn't accept the carbonation. And so we decided the carb stone is broken. We're going to pull it out while there's beer in the tank and stick another one in and get this beer carbonated so we can can it. So the plan we came up with, there was 3 of us, and we said, One's going to take the clamp off, the other one's going to pull the stone out, and the other one's going to put the stone back in.
Who videotaped this?
I wish it was.
I wish.
But he was going through this so nonchalantly, like it was just like some spy
This is going to
movie.
be easy.
He's just like, no, Mark, no, it's all right. I got the stone. You just pull the valve off. I'm going to put the stone in, and then you will have Donovan just put the little clasp on, and that's it. It's going to be so easy. It's
Easy,
like,
smooth.
Evan, there's no way that's going to be that easy.
I said, and I did. I said, don't worry. This is how it's going to work. And so we get into it, and we get all ready. And the first thing, you start unscrewing the clamp, and he gets it almost done, and the thing shoots off like a bullet across the room.
The pressure
would have killed somebody if there was anybody over there.
my God.
I pull out the stone, and then the beer just goes whoosh, and all over the wall, all over the boiler. It's just spraying out like, worse than a fire hose.
Before we knew what was happening, we were in like basically hypothermia. We couldn't breathe. We couldn't think.
So cold, and whatever CO2 was left in the beer was getting into our lungs, and we couldn't
Displacing
breathe.
the oxygen. Yeah.
And so, it really was. It felt like about an hour while we're watching this beer pouring out of the tank, and we're going, "Oh my God!" And my mind's going, "I'm fired. I'm never gonna be able to brew beer again because this is all going to go down the drain."
In this town again.
So then I'm trying to put the new stone in, and it won't go. There's just too much pressure, and I'm not strong enough to get it in. And so that's when I started having those feelings like, okay, this is it. We're done. Like, let's just go home, and we'll say we didn't know what happened. And
It was like that when I got here.
so I stepped back, and fortunately, somehow, I don't know if it was God or whoever, said, try it from the side. So I tried it from the side with the stone. It goes right in and stops, and no more beer's coming out. So I'm, hurry up, put the clamp on. And they're going, what? Like, Mark and Donovan, the cellarmen, are standing off in the corner as I'm still getting sprayed. I can't breathe, and I can't talk.
We were across from the pumpkin river that was.
And they're going. I thought
Hey,
I'm
over here.
I thought I'm being perfectly clear in what I was saying, and they couldn't understand. I'm just, and so they run over, they get the clamp on, and everything. We're just like, okay. Now I said it felt like an hour. It was about 4 seconds for all that to happen. Like 4 seconds.
What?
Yeah, it was so quick, and. And then we get the clamp on, and guess what? The clamp is pinched, so it's leaking. So we got to do it again. So we loosen the clamp, and we just had to jimmy it. We didn't lose any more beer, but we jimmied it, got the clamp to close, and the end of the story. We lost about 4 barrels, which is 100+ gallons out of I don't know how many thousands of gallons, but it was a fun experience.
How big was this tank?
It was 62 barrels in there. We lost 4.
So it was that weight of pressure that you were fighting against.
Well, and the funny thing is that we neglected to release the pressure that was in the tank before we did it.
So on top of the weight of the
another
liquid,
15 psi.
And when he says we neglected, it means he neglected. Because I literally before it was just like, shouldn't we let the pressure out before we do this? He's like, no, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's just going to be like a trickle.
That doesn't have any effect on it. This is hydrostatic pressure we're dealing with.
And then, of course, when it was pinched and still leaking, it was just like, hey, you mind if we let the pressure out now?
Yeah, that made
that'd be a good idea.
So then the end of the story is we're all drenched and covered in pumpkin and spice, and so we all stripped down to our boxers and worked the rest of the day in rubber boots and boxers. And so when all the servers and the waitresses and bartenders and everybody comes in, they were just like, okay.
You guys
Don't want to know because nobody knew, and there's no proof now. We didn't videotape it, so nobody believes the story.
The best part was, it was the tank that was like right near the outside, so it was spraying inside and outside the brewery into the seating area. And we're all outside, like Donovan and I are inside cleaning the floors, and he's outside hosing all the pumpkin off the outside seating area. Just then, our salesman turns around the corner with his little bag, and he's just like, what happened? What happened?
Who's fired?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So it's a little embarrassing, but it's fun. We always like to tell that story.
Sounds like one of those stories. We can laugh about it now.
Because we all survived and being get fired.
Now we know what not to do.
Yeah. Lesson learned.
Well, and so here's the best part is the carb stone had nothing wrong with it. I called the manufacturer, and they were like, you idiot. Turn the pressure up. Like, ceramic stones need double the amount of pressure to get through the pores. And I was like, oh.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, yeah, now you tell me.
Yeah, now you know.
Oops.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Right. Trials and tribulations of a new brewer.
That's funny.
Man.
So let's open this growler.
Let's open the growler.
Let's do it.
We have pretty glassware, by the way.
So which one do we have in the growler?
This is the tequila barrel beer.
Tequila barrel beer.
Siembra Rouge.
That's why we need a pretty glass.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
That
This is my favorite beer that we have produced.
So as I said earlier, I had never had a tequila barrel-aged beer. Now
we're having a
that's
tequila
all about to
barrel-aged
change.
beer.
Oh, and Rich is going to try this one.
Oh, my God, the smell. Oh.
This is the sort of beer that Rich likes to try.
The crazy one.
Like I said, my favorite.
Ooh, Rich
See,
likes,
he likes it. That's always a good thing.
Rich, better or worse than Lime-A-Ritas?
Ooh.
Better. All right, good.
Better, yeah.
Right when we first started kegging this was right when I came on into Manayunk. And, of course, I just started learning how to fill kegs and made a mistake. I left the valve open while I was taking the Sankey off and just got sprayed with this tequila barrel-aged sour beer.
That's not
I was
such
like,
a bad thing.
I got sprayed with beer, and then I'm smelling myself. I'm like, wow, this smells really good. Okay.
Ooh.
Although depending about how long you walked around like that and what the
Yeah.
temperature was like, that could turn
Bees
after a while.
love me.
Yeah.
Wow. It's got like a really nice sweetness to it.
I'm getting, and I don't know if it's the glassware, but I am getting like a red wine feel.
Probably the
It's
glass.
very
Might be the
no. It's
glasses.
very red winey. It's it's a red ale.
Like he contradicts me. And
Red.
you're just like, oh.
No, it is. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people get that because of the oak. You get a ton of oak
Yeah.
out of it, and a lot of people, equate oak to bourbon or
Yeah.
wine
Yeah.
or whatever.
And
Comes in.
what I think it is because, when you have bourbon barrel-aged beers, which, I've had a ton of, the oak is associated with that bourbon flavor, the vanilla flavor, and that whole thing. And this doesn't have that because it's tequila. So I think the oak maybe comes out a little more in this than it would in a bourbon barrel-aged.
I think it was definitely aged the exact right amount of time. It has that little bit of sweetness up front, and then it just dries out, but it doesn't punch you in the face with barrel character.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys, we couldn't think of a better way or better people to share this with. This is all there is. This is it. There's no more.
Oh, no.
There's no more of this beer. I mean, this has actually survived the flood, and we had a little bit left, and we poured some at our beer dinner last night. And this is what's left we saved for you guys. We actually saved it first before the dinner to make sure we had it.
Yay!
Well, it is appreciated. Thank you, guys.
It's so good.
And it's
It
the
is
same
very good.
tequila barrels we talked about from before. This is the second batch of beer in those barrels. Right now we have a Flanders Red in those barrels,
Stupid Flanders.
which is really going good.
And the best thing I noticed, too, is when we go out to beer fest and stuff, like you were saying earlier, with like an entry-level sour, like this is it. It's something like tequila's enough to drag people in, and then they try it, and they're like, oh, wow, that's really different. It's very wine-like, almost like a Merlot or something.
That's so easy drinking.
Yeah.
It's
It really
terrifying how easy drinking this is.
And
and
for
this-
somebody who doesn't like tequila, you don't get the things that I don't like about tequila are not in this.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, and the saison that we did first in the same barrels was very dry and a lot more oak and tequila flavor and aggressive. And we were just a little bit worried that they wanted us to produce another clean beer without any bugs, and we just said, well, we don't know if we can do that. It's in oak. You're going to get what you get.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, let's not chance it. Let's just make a sour. So we actually added Brett, PDO, Lacto to this beer, let it do its thing in the barrels, and just like Mark said, couldn't be more pleased with how it came out.
It's really, really good.
And people were shocked too. They said, I didn't even know Manayunk did that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, this is the new Manayunk, I guess, because this is what we're into and this is what we like to do.
Nice. The new Manayunk. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Indeed.
Cheers to the new Manayunk. And to awesome tequila
I'm so
barrel
far
aged
away
beers.
from everybody else.
I'll make it. There
And
we
the
go.
awesome glasses.
I know, right? I need to get a set of these. We have to let this. Maybe we should go on from here
Let this warm up some.
and just sip it for a while. This is
and-
definitely not one that I want to go.
Yeah, especially if it's all that's left.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of works out because now we have Happy Fun Times game. Happy Fun Time games. Happy Fun Times. Happy Game Time Fun Time Game Time. Wayne, what do we have?
That sounds fun.
Steph's clever plan to make me look foolish by putting a tasting segment before the game.
I think it worked. I think it worked, and it worked well.
Yeah. Okay. Cue the music, Maestro.
Pick 1, 2, or 3.
3.
Okay.
All right. Standard fare. Well, After a brief foray into an outside-the-box flavor variation of Happy Fun Time games in our last 2 episodes, we return today to the tried and true continuation of the beerducation of the Beer Busters Nation with a GABF-themed version of Libation or Fabrication. You all know how this works. I don't need to tell you. There's fake beers, there's real beers, and there's guessing. All the phony beers in today's game come courtesy of an article from firstwefeast.com. Which lists some of the most absurd beer names from the recent 28th Annual Great American Beer Festival. I almost made it without screwing up.
The American Great Beer Festival.
The American Great Beer Festival. And I would like to give a shout-out thanks to Weyerbacher sales rep and recent Beer Busters guest Natalie DeChico, who shared this article on Facebook, providing me with fodder for today's festivities. So,
Natalie!
What? I'm going to tell you guys the name of beer, the real thing. You know how it works.
We just blurt it out or what?
No, we're going to go. I'm going to tell you who's turn it is to guess.
It will be organized.
We'll alternate who goes first. It will be as organized as it can be. After
It wouldn't be
drinking.
Happy Fun Time.
And we'll start with someone random.
We will randomly choose.
If your name rhymes with Don Rickles.
If your name
Pickles. Speak.
Magnificent Pickles. I think we're going to start to my left with my lovely brother Dan.
Oh, I'm lovely, apparently.
You are lovely. You called me lovely in an episode a while ago, and it was kind of weird, so I'm repaying it much later.
Pay it forward.
Tell me, is this beer real or fake?
Speaking of popping.
Sorry. Dan, is this beer real or fake? German Sparkle Party.
Real.
Dan says real. Mark, what do you think?
Too bad to not be real.
Too bad to not be real, so going with real. All right, fair enough. Evan, what do you think?
Repeat the question.
German Sparkle Party. Is that real or fake?
German
Sounds like a
Sparkle
nightmare.
Party.
German Sparkle Party.
Fake.
Fake, says Evan. And finally, Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say real.
You're going to say real. Everyone but Evan is correct.
Damn it.
That is a real beer. It's a 4% ABV Berliner Weiss from 10 Barrel Brewing Company, which is a small batch brewery in Bend, Oregon.
Oregon?
Bend,
Oregon? What's the abbreviation for that
my
state?
Goodness.
Bend, Oregon, who was number 4.
I was just going to say.
Yep.
It's a town that was mentioned
List.
earlier. It's number 4 on the
Yes.
list. Little side note about 10 Barrel Brewing Company. Their age gate landing page on their website, where you have to say you're 21, lists the following options. I am 21 or older. I am not 21. I am not 21, but I have a good fake ID. Or I'm a brewery owner with no game trying to steal your ideas, which is mildly amusing. But what is even more amusing, at the very bottom of their website, there's a tiny little bit of text that reads, "Congratulations, if you are reading this, you have read the entire website." Which I thought was pretty cool. Moving along to our second beer, and Mark is going to guess first on this one. Is this beer real or fake? It is called Fear Is Your Only God.
That sounds fake.
Sounds fake, says Mark. Evan, what do you think?
Well, I can't say fake, so I'm going to say real.
You can't say fake, so you're going to
be
say real.
wrong.
All right, Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say real.
Steph's going to say real as well. And finally, Dan?
Fake.
Dan says fake. Everyone to my left is wrong. Evan and Steph had it right. It is real. It is an 8.6% Saison from Adroit Theory Brewing Company in Purcellville, Virginia. Adroit Theory is a new nano brewery specializing in esoteric brews with an emphasis on barrel aging. They have a pretty awesome gothic theme to everything. Their beers and their website and everything's pretty cool. That's all I have to say about that. Moving on to our third beer, and Evan's going to guess first on this one. Is this beer real or fake? This beer is called Wake Me Up Before You Gosa.
Oh my.
Love
Is
it.
that
love it,
real
love it, love it,
or
love it.
fake?
Clever.
Love it. Love it.
If it's not real,
Then you're stealing it.
I might be brewing a Gosa soon. All right, say it again.
Wake me up before you Gosa.
How do you forget that?
Jitterbug. Jitterbug.
I'm going to say that's too clever. That's got to be real.
It's got to be real,
That
says Evan.
has to be real.
It's
It
too
better be real.
It's too clever for me. Dan, what do you think? Steph and Evan say it's real.
Fake.
Dan says it is phony, false, not real. Mark.
I want it to be real too much. It's real.
Okay, saying it's real. Dan, to my left, you are wrong.
Damn
It is real. It is the third of 3 beers that was released in celebration of the first anniversary of Strange Ways Brewing in Richmond, Virginia.
Of course.
Of course. You can read more about Richmond, Virginia in Steph's Beer Venture series on beerbusterspodcast.com.
Richmond?
No, that was Norfolk, wasn't it?
Dumbass.
Edit that part out.
I'm good.
You won't. I know.
I haven't been to Richmond yet, but when I
Okay.
do, I'm hooking up with Joe Man.
That's
I'm gonna go into Stone.
That's the
We're
Richmond
going to Stone.
connection. And also, you're welcome for getting that song stuck in your head.
You're welcome.
I'm not sorry.
And thank you.
Our fourth and final beer, and Steph is going to guess first on this one. And this beer is called Just the Tip Spruce Tip Ale.
Wow.
Real.
Steph says it's real. Dan, what do you think?
Real.
Dan says it's real. Mark?
Just the tip. Fake.
Oh, Mark says it's fake. And Evan?
I'm going to go with Mark.
Oh, both saying it's fake. You guys are wrong. That is real. It is appropriately by Sick and Twisted Brewing Company in Hill City,
course
South
it is.
Dakota. Just the Tip is a
South Dakota.
5.18% American pale ale brewed with spruce tips.
They've got to
obviously.
entertain themselves somehow.
Yes.
Where did
and-
South Dakota land on that list?
that's a good question.
List.
Wait, we talked about lists today?
Oh,
what?
Yeah, list.
Oh.
There was a list. But yeah, so Sick and Twisted Brewing Company, all their beers are awash in heavy innuendo. So they will likely be making a return in future editions of Libation or Fabrication. So real quick, before...
That's what she said.
Just the tip, real quick.
Just the tip.
Just the tip, real quick. I'm going to add up the points here. And oh my holy goodness, ladies and gentlemen, do you believe in miracles?
I do.
No.
With a perfect score of 4 out of 4. To my right, Steph,
Woo!
the brewologist.
Come on, give me an applause or something.
Steph needs a sound effect.
Really?
Amazing.
Everyone else,
Thank you.
everyone else equally average with 2 points apiece.
You're all average.
Yeah, see, we got the extra ding ding.
Whatever, I won.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Okay.
You only won because we let you win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I think they're setting up for tonight.
I was gonna say,
There's going to be like a dance party in here at any time.
Oh, shit.
From radio show to club.
Wait,
No,
what?
we have.
Seriously?
we have-
what
no,
time?
Like 10.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
we got
8:30.
time.
Okay, well, let's hurry up then.
Move this show on.
Yes.
Your beer.
No. Know your beers?
Steph.
That's it?
And here's Steph.
Usually you're like, so Steph, what do we have on tap today? And you're like, Steph.
I was trying to be quick and save time.
I'm sorry. And I just wasted time.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about the Belgian Blonde Ale. Belgian Blonde Ales were first brewed to compete with European Pilsners during World War II. They differ from the other regional pale ale varieties by traditionally being less bitter, using aged hops for a delicate hop finish, and boasting sweetish to toasty malt overtones. Similar in strength to a double, and similar in character to a Belgian strong golden ale or triple,
Was that sweetish or Swede-ish?
sweet-ish.
Okay, thank you.
Although a bit sweeter and not as bitter. A Belgian blonde often has an almost lager-like character, which gives it a cleaner profile in comparison to the other styles. Belgians use the term blonde without the E, while the French spell it blonde with the E. Most commercial examples are in the 6.5 to 7% ABV range. Many Trappist table beers, singles or enkels, are considered blonde, but these are not representative of the style. What's going on, Pickles?
My bum is on the Swedish. Oh, God.
So the aroma of a Belgian blonde is going to be light, earthy or spicy hop nose and a subtle yeast character of hints of orange or lemon. There's also a slight sugar-like sweetness character. Appearance is light to deep golden in color, generally very clear, large, dense, creamy white to off-white head with good retention. Flavor is smooth with light to
Yes.
moderate malt sweetness, initially finishing medium dry to dry with some smooth alcohol becoming evident in the aftertaste. The light hop flavor can be spicy or earthy, and there's also a very soft yeast character. Some lightly caramelized sugar or honey-like sweetness is evident. Mouthfeel is medium-high to high carbonation, mouth-filling bubbly sensation, medium body.
That's what she said.
And it can be somewhat creamy. Overall, it's a moderate strength golden ale that has a subtle Belgian complexity, slight sweet flavor, and a dry finish. Some commercial examples: Leffe Blonde, Troubadour Blonde Ale, others I can't pronounce, La Trappe Blonde, and of course, Manayunk Session, which you described as a Belgian single, but also described as a light-bodied Belgian-style blonde ale. You want to talk about your Belgian single / Belgian-style blonde ale?
Yes. I'm not very good with terminology, I guess. Well, Session came about because we wanted something that was really easy to drink. Doug and I created it together. It was a Belgian, the way it was described to us. Actually, one of our key accounts down in the city asked us to brew this beer for them, and the way they described it was a Belgian single. They brought us a bottle of, I think it was Russian River Redemption. Is that their Belgian single? Belgian Blonde, I think. We'll have to look it up. No, Damnation's like a dark strong, I think. I think it's Redemption. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, they brought a bottle, and they were like, we want to do something along these lines, and this is the way we came up with Session. And, we put it, we sold it at the brew pub one way. It didn't sell. We called it Belgian Blonde. It sold better.
Redemption is the Belgian gold. Very
okay.
good.
Yep. Redemption. Yeah. Dark blue bottle.
Yep.
And so, I don't know. It became my favorite. This is actually my favorite style of beer. I don't know if that's why you chose it, but
you did say that was your favorite. So.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I just love. I seek out Belgian singles, Belgian blondes, Belgian goldens. They're all great. It's really my favorite style. I guess I really like sours, but if I had to choose a style, that would be it. And, I mean, that's it. I mean, it's got some spicy notes, a little bit of black pepper, maybe some lemon zest. It's all comes from the yeast. We use a higher temperature when we ferment it. We use our house strain as the Ardennes strain of yeast, and everybody, all the bartenders at the restaurant here know. Like if I walk up to the bar, that's the first thing they pour for me. Yeah,
nice.
They know it, and so whenever we can it, I always load up a couple cases in the car and take them home.
Shall we go fill our glasses?
Let's do it.
Let's go fill our glasses. Give me a fucking beer! All right, so what do we have up now?
The beer we've been talking about.
First impressions?
It's really tasty.
I haven't tried it
It's
yet.
a drinkable Belgian. To me, a lot of Belgians, you got to sip them and let them sit for a while and let them drip from your nose.
Dan just stick his nose in the beer.
Apparently. He took sniffing the beer to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Now, I'm waiting for Dan to comment on the non-filtered aspect of this beer.
Sorry, I have to get it out of my nose first.
Which, especially for a Belgian, which Belgians can tend to be very yeasty and cloudy.
It is lacking the floaty bits.
The floaty bits.
Yes. It is very, very clear. And it drinks really clean. And like you said, it's really easy drinking. It's got all those nice Belgian characters, but without, like you said, like the big heaviness.
Yeah.
The way I describe it a lot is it's a Belgian that you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
You don't have to think, what am I looking for? What kind of figs or cherries or plums or whatever yeasty phenolics things. You just drink it and it's like, wow, that's really good. Mm-hmm. And I could drink another one and then crack it open another can and another one and another one. And it's 4.5%, so you can actually do that. Not fall off your chair.
Absolutely. So it's a real session beer by Lou Bryson standards.
Not by Dan Baker.
Not by Dan Baker standards. It's good.
It sits around 10%.
No, 13.
13. This is really good. This is like it is. It's really easy drinking, but it's still very flavorful.
And that's important, I think, being a brewer in a brew pub. You have to be mindful about the beer styles that you choose because you want people to pair them with the meals that are being served here. Do you work a lot with the chef here and pair your beers with the food, or does he pair his food with your beers?
We do. Yeah, we do. We actually, we revise our menu quite often and, pair beers with it. every week we have meetings with the staff and all the servers and tell them what the beers are and what we would recommend to serve those with that's on the menu. And so it really is a whole unit that works together to make the pairings work.
So what would you pair with this?
This is so light that you're looking for something that's not going to be overwhelming. You wouldn't want to use like something heavy, like a real heavy burger or anything like that. We have a really delicious home baked mac and cheese, a little bit of bacon.
That's what I was thinking. Baked mac and cheese.
It is. I've had that. It's really good.
It's so good. It's really, really good. But anything along, some of the salads would go really nice with this. We had the one salad that every season all of our menu changes. So in the summertime, I was drinking this a lot with a berry salad. It's got strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and stuff, and so really went well with that. You can get away with a piece of chicken or a piece of fish with this beer as well. I would stick away from dark meats, red meats, anything real heavy, brown gravies and stuff like that. It just wouldn't stand up to it.
So if you were going to pair something out of your lineup with a burger, what would you pair with a burger?
With the burger, right now we've got Philly Porter on, which is just robust and strong and meaty already, so I would drink that. I actually had one earlier.
I've got to say, when I was here for that wedding, that porter, after I had the Dragonfly for the first couple, and then I went with the porter, and oh my God, that porter.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, we got a amazing feedback on that beer at NHC, which was in Philadelphia last year. We sponsored one of the, I don't know what you call them, one of the little tasting things. Manayunk sponsored it. And so, we had brewers and professionals in the beer industry from all over the country and world coming up and telling us how much they liked the porter. It was really, really cool.
That was the one that was passed around the night that Tom spoke, right?
That's right, yep.
I remember that beer.
Yep.
It was super good.
But about this beer, you're right. You don't have to really think about it too much. It's just kind of, it's there. And
so much so that Steph and my glass of
man.
It goes down quick and easy.
It really does go down
quick.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue your thought.
No, that's fine. Never mind. I don't have a point. It's fine. No, it's something you don't really have to think about. It's just, it's there, and it's clear, it's bright, it's flavorful, and you can have a bunch of them.
Yeah, and then just as an added bonus, like when you look at the dollars and cents side of things, which brewers have to do nowadays, especially with a brew pub, is it's not real expensive to make. There's almost no hops. The grain bill is minute, and it turns over really quick. Yeah, one day we brewed it on a Friday, came in on Monday, and it was done.
Wow.
So it was like super quick for men,
This would be really good to sit outside on a hot day in the summer and just look over the river drinking this.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so I know what I'm doing next summer. There you go.
There you go.
Hey,
Crack
there's
open
still
a
some
can.
nice fall evenings left.
True, but if I got to warm up, I don't know if I would have this. This is like a cool-off beer.
I think this would, if you had to pick a season, this is a good spring summer beer.
Gun to your head, what season would you pick?
Gun to your head, what month?
What day? What time?
I'm going to say
what exact moment of your
April.
life?
I would only drink this beer in days that end in Y.
Okay,
that's a good point.
But no, it's people have called it a lawnmower beer. It's a warm weather, easy drinking type of beer.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would mow the lawn drinking this.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's still very flavorful, even though it is so easy drinking and it's so clear and everything. It's still very flavorful, so it stands up to these beginning of fall days.
What do you think about it, Mark?
I think the first thing that you get with is like that little bit of lemon zest and black pepper, and I think that's what our accounts really appreciate when we send them kegs or cans of this. Is just it's very versatile. They could put it with a lot of different things, and even if not, it's a good beer. Like try something new. Try this.
Yeah, we've all got those friends that are not into craft beer, and you give them one of these, and they're just like, "Wow, I didn't know beer could taste like that. It's really flavorful, and there's a lot going on for such a low ABV, very few ingredients. I think it's basically Pilsner and wheat with a touch of some Victory malt and almost no hops to speak of, and they're just like, wow.
Let the yeast shine.
Let the yeast, yeah exactly. Yeah. I hear you, sister.
Amen.
It's the yeast. It's the yeast.
It's all about the yeast.
It's the yeast.
After all, right? Brewers make the wort, yeast make the beer.
That's true.
Right.
That's very true.
So, pickles, what are we drinking now?
Weenus.
Pickles. We are drinking the Hive. It's our honey IPA. About 80-something IBUs. We use orange blossom honey.
Procured
again,
from?
You
don't know?
From? I don't know.
Dutch Gold honey in Lancaster.
Good
Little
old
shout out.
Lancaster, PA.
Little shout out to our honey folk out there.
Home of Shady Maple.
Oh man, talk about shady maple. Whoa, you did not go there. White birch beer. I mean, come on, who makes white birch beer?
Now.
Lancaster
Pennsylvania
County,
Dutch.
we make white birch
I
beer.
love it. I love it. I don't go to Dutch Gold without stopping there.
Awesome.
So the Hive is one of our most heavily hopped beers, but it's real clean. It's not overly bitter.
For small breweries and brew pubs, not everybody knows this. You deal the hops that you're given.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Hive this time could be 99 to 100% different than the last time we brewed it, just based on the hops that we have available. So everybody says, what hops are in it? It's just like, I don't know.
Whatever we
Yeah,
have.
look in the cooler and see what's in there. That's probably what we used, yeah. There are certain beers that we try not to meddle with too much, especially our canned beers, but for the Hive, I think some Columbus. Maybe,
Probably Simcoe somewhere.
I don't think Simcoe made it in there. I think it's like Columbus, Cascade, maybe some Chinook. We've been using a lot of Summit. We like to use Summit for bittering.
But it's a fun beer to make. I mean, we're literally buckets full of hops dumping into the kettle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we have these little tiny hop buckets, and they're just like, they stay on the shelf for this beer. We got to get the big boys out.
Nice.
And yeah, it really shines. I mean, most of the hops are coming in like the last couple minutes of the boil, dry hop and everything.
Well, even given that, it's not intensely bitter.
No.
It's very drinking.
No, well, that's
very
why. I mean,
much-
it's a normal amount of bitterness
Yeah.
for the bittering hops, and then everything else is late
It's
for
just
the,
late,
the
yeah,
aroma
at
and
the
the
end,
flavor.
yeah.
And
The very first word that came to my mind was magical. This beer is fantastic. It's so good.
It's magically
Oh my
delicious.
god.
Magically
oh,
delicious.
thanks, man. Thank you.
It is nice. It's nice and earthy and.
Well,
It
and
would
your
go really well
timing,
with
your
tasting.
timing's impeccable because it just went on tap today. Like hours before you guys got here, I'm running around cleaning the draft lines and putting this on because the harvest sale kicked.
I think it plays perfectly with the hops. That orange blossom honey, it's got a little bit of an herbal note. Whatever hodgepodge of hops we ended up using for this one, but I think it really complements it, especially with this batch. I love this beer.
You know what? I think we might even get some nugget. I think some spot nugget hops for
possible.
this. I think we might have put some nugget in it. I don't know. We have all the recipes. We could look it up and maybe
Keep in mind we do know what we're doing.
put it online.
Well, given that story.
You know what? You know what? I entrusted that story to you guys.
It's all good.
Hey,
Tell-
all the beers
tell
we've
no
had
one.
tonight have been fantastic, so you're doing
Yeah.
something right.
Right on.
Something's got
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Including the pumpkin. Was that the batch of pumpkin that spilled all over you, the one we had?
It's very possible.
Yes, it is.
Very possible.
Nice.
Nice.
It still tasted great.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because we brewed a lot.
It tastes
of
like
pumpkin this year.
catastrophe.
Yeah,
Scooped it up and put it
Well,
in the
now
can.
it does.
it's funny you say that.
Oh my!
This beer is amazing.
No, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
wanna
really
drink
good.
Really
This
good.
is
Yeah.
actually the first I've had it since we put it on. So
I'll be honest with you. There's not many beers that shut me up in my tracks. And this, oh my god.
Shut
Thank
me
you.
up in my
Thank you very
tracks.
much.
Oh,
And again, unfiltered, even though it looks clear as day. It's,
Yeah, it is really clear. Yeah.
we've got one more beer that we need to drink, and it's a name that I like. It is called Dreamin'. I just wanted an excuse to play this song.
Weezer.
Of course.
I like it.
So,
Used to be called California Dreamin'.
I don't have that song. Sorry.
It's okay.
I feel like I've
Is that
played
song
this
why it's not called California Dreamin'
No,
anymore?
it's
Oh.
because the federal government said you cannot call it California Dreamin' because it's not made in California.
But you're
And
dreaming of California.
Doesn't matter. We had to strike out California. Although everybody in town who's been around a little while still calls
Calls it Cal-
Yeah,
yeah.
like take a keg of Cali Dreamin'. That's still what it's known by. But
Damn the man.
yeah, stupid rules and
Damn
laws,
you and your rules.
laws and
Nobody needs laws. Anarchy, come on. Wow, if I'm arrested tomorrow, I'm sorry.
So this is our biggest beer of the night. It's 8.5%. It's got a lot of malt, so much so that it barely fits into the mash tun. Mostly a 2-row base with some Munich and some Vienna to give it more character and just to give it up, let it stand up to all those hops. And a lot of American hops, including things like Simcoe, Columbus. And like I said before, with the hop schedules and the beers that we make, this is one that we really try to stick to the same recipe as close as we can. I mean, the bittering hops all they do is provide bitterness. Nobody's going to know what you use. But we got fortunately, we got a lot of Simcoe in our hop contract, and so we love making Dreamin'.
That's Wayne's favorite hop.
Me too. Me too. That's why it was loaded up the Simcoe and the Dragonfly that we had earlier, and the Dreamin'. And the one thing that I changed with this beer when I took over was it was a very, very, very malt forward. Even though there's I don't know God knows how many pounds of hops in it, and I just made one small change. Is let's cut down a little bit on the malt. I don't even know if I cut down on the malt, but I just added some pure sugar to the boil, and that really dries out. The simple sugars, when you used to go to town on it, dries the beer out, and so it's not as malty. It's a little bit more drinkable now. It's a little bit drier. It's got a dry finish, and that's what I look for in a double IPA or even in a single IPA. Something that has a dry finish and is not too malty.
So good.
Yeah, you don't want it to stick. Sometimes you get those that are sticky and they just don't want to go away.
It's like the Ruination. Like that sticks around way too long. But this
beer has been coined by people in the city as the East Coast Pliny.
Ooh.
Yeah, and
That's
so
a
again, it's
compliment.
one of those compliments that we
Large
take.
praise.
Whenever we can share it, we do. It's our highest rated beer on the those funny
The
beer rating
interwebs.
website. Yeah.
Speaking of, I have
The
checked
internet
the
thing
last
that all the
couple
kids
in.
are doing now.
The internet thing.
It's also the most requested beer that we have. And that was, again, kind of by design. One of the things I thought of was so if you live in Philadelphia, you get to try Pliny the Elder on a pretty regular basis, but it's every couple months or once a year or whatever it is. And I thought, let's do that with Dreamin'. Let's kind of make it more special where you don't have it available all the time. It used to be one of our house beers that was on 365 days a year, and I said, no, it's too special of a beer to do that. So now we release it in limited quantities. I think the last batch was maybe 150, 200 cases, something like that. And
That's all right.
we sent out, a handful of kegs to some of our key accounts just as here's a thank you, just very similar to what they do with Pliny the Elder. And so it's worked out to our benefit because now the phone rings off the hook and saying, where can I get Dreamin'? When can I get more Dreamin'? And it's become the beer. It's starting to become the beer that we want it to be. Mark?
And even though it had who has a double IPA as one of their base beers, and we did for a while, and that was kind of the luck of the draw too, because we pulled it away for a little bit, just kind of focused on some other things, canning and stuff like that, and then it came back, and people were like, "Oh my God, Dreamin'! Where is it?
Where's it been?" Yeah.
Especially all the locals, they were just like, "Oh, when are you brewing Dreamin' again?" And now it has a bit of a demand to it, and it's a good beer.
Yeah,
very good beer.
And even we put it on tap almost the same day or the next day after we put on our Harvest Ale, and it stayed neck and neck the whole way. So it was I think, a Harvest Ale, it's a limited thing. You can't get it all the time. You can only brew it once a year. And Dreamin' stood up right next to it. So it shows that people like this beer. They drink a lot of it.
It's delicious.
It's
Thank
very,
you.
very, very good.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Is it time to pick favorites?
You know what? I believe so. Especially since there's a dance party coming in.
Mine is definitely
You gotta clear
the
out for the
tequila beer.
dancers.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Siembra Rouge.
Siembra
That's it.
Rouge.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Je suis un plumial rouge.
It's so good. And I'm glad I saved some for when we're finished.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I agree. That's out of all these beers, that's my favorite. I realize that there is a market for certain types of beers, even if I don't like them, so I brew them, and I try to brew them the best I can. And but this is, if I had my way, I'd drink nothing but sour beers, and so this is right up my alley. And
Secretly, he's hoping there's a flood of bacteria, and all of a sudden we're just brewing sour beers.
Well, you get asked that question all the time. Oh, do you put the bugs and the Brett in all your tanks and your hoses and this and that? I'm like, the worst thing that can happen is now I can only make sours, and I can be a Crooked Stave or a brewery or
The
one
monks
of
from
those-
the Yunk.
and I read all these things about Russian River where they have their own separate little brewery for the sours and things like that. It's like, okay, I mean, I understand that. Yeah, you can't, you're distributing these beers to a large amount. Well, we're just right here. We're in Philadelphia, and hey, if we became like a farmhouse sour barrel aged program, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Be certainly okay with that. As a matter of fact, I might try to make that happen.
little sabotage.
Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne.
Gun to your head.
Are their guns cocked and loaded?
He said
They've been-
He said cock. He said cock.
and he wasn't talking about a chicken.
No.
Just the tip.
I also said load, which is a bit more of a stretch.
Creamy load.
Stretch.
He said stretch.
Okay, we're getting out of hand.
I'm gonna.
So about the beer.
we
Pick a
got-
fucking beer. Would
So
you?
about the beer.
I have an answer, and the answer is the same. The Rouge is my favorite.
Sweet.
It's the most, and like I said, it's the first tequila barrel aged beer I've ever had, and I didn't think I'd like them because I don't like tequila, but I do like it, and I like the fact that it has a red wine character to it, because I do really like red wine, and I don't drink it very often because I spend all my time drinking
It was
beer.
the glass.
It wasn't the glass. More to it than that. But I would like to say a close second was the Hive.
Okay.
Was super
All
good.
right.
Dropping
Fair
the mic.
enough.
I'm out.
All right. All right. This is tough.
Danmark.
Daniel?
I thought we were trying to make a pun off
No,
Denmark.
I was
No,
trying
it's
to
like
see
it's not a
who
country.
wanted
Is
to
that
go
a word?
next.
Denmark?
I wanted to.
All right. I'm gonna take the reins here. It's tough, and it's every single time I've been here, I've had way too much because it's so easy to drink all
This
of these
is really
beers.
dramatic.
I'm on needles over here.
All right. So
Once he starts throwing the pen down, then you know it's serious.
all right. It's
Does it rhyme with 5?
you took all
raining
the
pens.
thunder away.
I am very good at stealing thunder.
It's raining pens.
All right, it's Hive. Mark, on to you.
Oh, we can't even get a close second.
I love the anticlimax of that. What is
Punch.
second? I want to hear the second. What's the
It's
second?
no, it's Hive, but I mean everything else is just so unique. I mean
Where is the Rouge on your list?
the Rouge?
Close to the top, middle?
Probably 3.
Okay, fair enough.
Probably 3. I
I've
would
Dreamin'
go.
Rouge.
God, you know me.
And then I'm going to say Punch Pumpkin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm good like that. That's how I roll.
Have you ever been here for a wedding? Just a stab in the dark.
Were they serving pickles at the wedding?
Is your license plate? No.
Yeah. Oh my!
Good stuff there,
As far
Mark.
as my choice, it's tough. I know everyone's going with Hive and Rouge, but they're two of my favorite beers that we produce here.
Can I steal your thunder too? Because I know what it's going to be.
Go ahead.
No, you can do it.
No, I love Rouge.
Wait, you didn't say session. You lied.
Session wasn't one of our. Well, okay, I did. I did.
You have been caught.
Well, because sours. I explained earlier. Sours are my passion,
Yes, but look.
and then Rouge.
even says.
All right,
Now we're
fine.
stealing pickles.
I'll
from them.
retract. Session. I like Session more than Rouge.
Oh,
What? Blasphemy.
Crossing his fingers.
these
Right.
crossing-
Blasphemy.
Okay, pickles.
Yeah, I mean, these are two of my favorite beers we produce. I mean, especially the Hive. It's. I've had it in cask form. I've had it bottle conditioned.
What adjective would you use to describe them?
Amazing.
So what was it? It was
I
Hive.
know. I was trying to figure out if he
Rouge.
answered the
It
question.
was Rouge.
Rouge.
Oh, I was going to say
I think
Dreamin'.
we should
I thought
wrap up
Dreamin'.
this train wreck.
Harvest would be close if that was.
We didn't even drink Harvest.
That's what I'm saying. If it was on the list,
Oh god.
It was so good. It was kicked before we got here.
Man,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Hey, it's all right.
more reason.
That's
to
a
come
good
back.
problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. Oh God! All right, and I have to note that every beer we've had tonight has been a full pour. So
More or less, yeah.
In a
Yeah.
small glass.
Yeah, they're not full pints.
Yeah,
but
that's
still,
not a
it's-
taster glass.
That no, like
No, well, we don't mess around with that. We
They're
get,
big boy taster
Yeah, we
glasses.
get glasses that can hold a beer.
good.
We're not going to get little shot glasses.
We're
and drink
big
out of
boys.
those.
What do you
Yeah.
want? Little tiny snifters?
My liver thanks you. Man, oh my God.
Social media.
Social media. So, if people were looking to find Manayunk on the interwebs, where could they go?
Well, the best thing would be to go to space or something.
Me face,
Yeah.
my
Instabook.
twit,
My
Go to
Facebookgram?
Twitter
Instabook.
bookgram?
Yeah, Instabook.
bookgram.
Oh my God, you guys!
Okay, fine.
It's
I mean, I know
Manayunk-
it's on the page in front of us. I was just trying to, hey, invite them in to say, oh, by the way, I work for Manayunk, and you can find us on this page. But no, Steph has to be in and say,
Well,
oh,
apparently they're not up to the challenge anyway.
It's
so.
ManayunkBrewery.com, Facebook.com/Manayunk Brewery, at Manayunk Brewery, and Instagram Manayunk Brewing Company.
But the at Manayunk Brewery, what is that for?
and Twitter.
All right, cool.
Tinder.
Manayunk is spelled Manayunk. For those of you not from Eastern PA,
I can't believe this didn't come up, but somebody better know what Manayunk stands for, what it means.
No, what? No.
No?
No.
Throwing it out there.
It's a suburb of Philadelphia. It's a neighborhood
It's
of
not
Philadelphia.
even a suburb. It's in Philadelphia.
It's a neighborhood of Philadelphia.
Yes. Okay, that's an acceptable answer.
Would it
I'll
be,
give you a hint.
So
it's
is it an
it's
anagram?
an Indian word.
Land of many rivers.
Mark is pointing out the answer.
The place where we drink?
Hey.
Bing, 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 bing.
Oh, is that really?
Can we get some bells and some dings and
so it's
Nice.
the Native American word for place where we
place
drink.
where we drink? Yeah, right where
Oh,
the
that's
river,
awesome.
where the
I love
water
it.
is. And, Manayunk, that's what it meant.
Like
where
I
everybody came
vaguely
down.
have a could memory of learning that in elementary school.
No,
but
you
I
didn't.
It could have
never-
been.
I
Oh, yeah.
never would have.
Muhlenberg did not teach you that.
I didn't go to Muhlenberg.
You know what I
elementary
learned
school.
today?
Reading did not
I went
teach
to Reading,
you that.
which is even
I
better.
learned today that Samuel Adams did not like to drink,
That motherfucker.
Ooh.
and that the picture on the Sam Adams
I want to throw up
spouse
all that beer that I ever drank.
is actually Paul Revere. It is not Sam Adams.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, you know what?
It's
I
actually
just
a
like them
painting,
both
not a
now.
phonograph, so it's a
I'm just-
yeah,
artist's
but it's not.
interpretation
It's not
one
of
them.
Sam Adams. It's based on Paul Revere.
One if
I'm
I
just
land,
saying.
two if
Like
I
the
see.
Beastie Boys song?
Perhaps.
And drink.
I just want to say before you close this out, I want to thank you guys for coming this distance again.
Absolutely.
Thank you
This
for
is
having
awesome.
us.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have it anyway. I've been so excited ever since Steph reached out. I mean, this has been months.
Yes, it has.
Months of waiting and anticipation for this day.
It's my fault we couldn't be here last week. Sorry. Actually, no, it's my friend's fault because he got married last week. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's okay.
I know that.
It's okay, Ben. I love you.
You go to like 3 weddings a day. We established that.
Just about.
It's all good.
But on the
yeah.
upside, I live about 15 minutes away, while these two live an hour. So
Right on.
An hour was turned into an hour and 45 tonight, but
So I
Good
will-
old Schukel.
yes. I look forward to many, many, many returns.
absolutely.
Well, and you'll be glad to know we've got a lot of barrels in the back doing their thing. And like I said, there'll be some cool stuff coming out from us.
That's what I like to hear.
awesome.
It really, really, really pains me to say that this is the end of another episode of Beer Busters Podcast. And it was a man by the name of Dan Castellaneta, who you might know as the voice of Homer Simpson, says there is no strong beer, just weak men. I've had a blast. And that's an understatement. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for having us here. And it's been amazing, and I love Manayunk.
Amazing.
Amazing. We just need some pickles.
Hey, listen, the pleasure's all on this side of the couch.
Yeah.
Or whatever this is.
Come back
Yes.
anytime. We really appreciate you guys being
Absolutely.
It's
We will be
tons of
back.
fun.
Yes, many, many, many. I got to restart the music in a
You
second, so
can
I'm just
start.
vamping. So,
Your couch.
oh no, couch. You know what? I'll bleep it with your bleep. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, I've got another 38 seconds for the music to play, so I'm just going to keep talking.
You have to have us say our name.
I do.
I want
I
to
know,
thank.
but I'm
I
going to
want to
wait.
thank God. I want to thank my mom.
Man upstairs.
Rest in peace,
Mama,
Mom.
thanks for giving me life. As always, I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer.
Way bigger.
As always, my friends, go get a beer, and we bid you adieu.
Hashtag no hashtag.
No hashtags!
We almost made it.
Hashtag bleep.
Come on!
Hashtag litits.
Wayne, you're...
Punch.
Shady people.
Hashtag pickles.